वक्रतुंड महाकाय सूर्यकोटि समप्रभा निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देव सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा। गुरु ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुर् साक्षात् परब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। Hari Om, Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Namaste and a hearty welcome to one and all for today's 8th session of Kathopanishad. Nachiketas, having passed the test of Lord Yama, establishing his qualification for Gnanam. It is rare for a student to get a teacher like Lord Yamaraja. Equally rare is for a teacher to find a competent student like Nachiketas. In the following verses of the first half of the Prathamadhyaya Dvitiyavalli, Lord Yama glorifies this fact, and then he glorifies the rarest of rare teaching itself. In this session, we shall cover verses 6 through 10, but first a recap of the previous session by Srimati Pannaga. Pannaga, please.
Hari Om, Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. In the first section of the first chapter, Nachiketas passes the tests given by Lord Yama, thereby establishing that he has all the right qualifications to pursue Gnana. The second section of the first chapter begins with Lord Yama glorifying the student, Shishya Stutihi. This will be followed by the glorification of the teacher, Acharya Stutihi, and then of the teaching itself, Vidya Stutihi. In the first verse, Lord Yama names the path of action, Karma Marga, as Preyaha, and the path of knowledge, Gnana Marga, as Shreyaha. They are also called Pravritti Marga and Nivritti Marga, respectively. Lord Yama glorifies the Vedantic student who opts for Shreyas, the pursuit of Vedantic self-knowledge, and Moksha rather than Preyas, the worldly pursuits of Artha and Kama. The Preyas seeker is hence deprived of the supreme goal and experience of the felicity of Moksha. Let us remember that Karma Marga and Gnana Marga are the only two paths available to man. Bhakti Yoga is not a separate path. If bhakti is expressed in the form of puja, japa, or meditation, it falls under Karma Marga. If bhakti is expressed in the form of inquiring into the nature of God, it is Gnana Marga. In the second verse, Lord Yama states that both paths present themselves to humans. The intelligent and discriminative human being, the Dhiraha, having clearly considered both the paths, understands the limitations of karma phalam that has the three inherent defects: pain, dissatisfaction, and attachment. He understands that the defect is not with the sense objects, but with his binding desire for them. Such a person chooses Shreyas and over Preyas. The indiscriminate one, the Aviveki, spends all his life focusing on acquiring and protecting his material possessions. We must note here that an intelligent person chooses Karma Marga. An intelligent person chooses Gnana Marga. Karma Yoga comes under Gnana Marga because it is not for material acquisition, but for the preparation for self-inquiry, Chitta Shuddhihi. Karma Marga consists of all Sakama karmas that are meant for worldly goals only. Any karma meant for the purification of the mind comes under Gnana Marga. In verse 3, Lord Yama praises Nachiketa because he did not get attracted by all the material gifts Lord Yama tempted him with. Becoming an emperor of a vast kingdom, sons and grandsons, and celestial pleasures that can never be attained by human beings. Being a small boy, Nachiketas displayed Vairagya that is born out of Atma Anatma Viveka and not out of ignorance of these worldly pleasures. In the fourth verse, Lord Yama calls these two paths as Vidya and Avidya Marga. Vidya leading to Shreyas and Avidya to Preyas. It is not possible for one to follow both paths because they are diametrically opposite to each other. In avidya or karma marga, a person's objective is to increase his material possessions. Such a person relies on external support like wealth, people, status, etc. to be secure and happy. This sense of incompleteness is the fundamental reason for karma. Avidya, kama, karma. Since karma marga leads from dependence to dependence, it is called avidya marga. Gnana marga questions the basic assumption that one needs external support in the first place. Lord Yama considers Nachiketas to be a seeker of knowledge because he chose Vidya without allowing any temptation to distract him. Bahavaha kamaha na aloluptaha. Finally, in verse 5, Lord Yama comes down heavily on those who take to karma marga. He calls them aviveki, indiscriminative, and mudaha, deluded. They consider themselves to be intelligent, but they are neither capable of discerning the mithyatva of worldly objects themselves, nor do they seek the counsel of the wise. Therefore, they lead their lives like the blind following the blind, birth after birth. In the next set of verses today, Lord Yama concludes the glorification of the Vedantic seeker of Shreyas and will begin the glorification of a Brahma Vidya teacher. Thank you, Hari Om.
Thank you very much, Panaga, for giving us a very nice summary of all the verses we studied in the last class. Sada Shiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Pariyantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Om. We are in the second class of the second Valli of the first chapter of Kathopanishad, and the mantras that we are going to study are from 6 to 10. Let us quickly look at what this Valli, the second Valli of the first chapter, is going to hold for us. Up to verses 13, we will listen to, that means not only in this class, it will also be some 3 mantras of the next class. We will be listening to the greatness of the student, the greatness of the teacher, and what the greatness of the subject that we are going to study. It is in verse 14 where Nachiketa becomes impatient, because if you will remember, this is the second Valli. In the first Valli, there was an introduction to the teacher and the student, and then the 3 boons, and he was insisting on the 3rd boon. He went through a rigorous test. He passed the test, but still, Yamadharmaraja, our teacher, is glorifying the student, the teacher, and so on. He has not come to the subject. What really happens after death? Is there something that is going to survive? And this is the mystery of death and what happens, and which is essentially Brahma Vidya, which he will put in a very highly quoted question. Anyatra dharma, anyatra adharma. Oh my Lord, can you tell me something beyond dharma? Something beyond the past and the present, something beyond cause and effect. And this reflects exactly what a student of Vedanta would know. And so the question is very brilliant. Now that the teacher knows that the student is prepared, just before giving Brahma Vidya, the teacher wants to give us a message about Omkara. Here he's not telling us about Omkara as the knowledge about Omkara, but Omkara as a wonderful upasana, and that we will study in 3 mantras, 15 to 17, and we will see similar identical verses in the Bhagavad Gita. From 18 to 25, the actual teaching of Brahma Vidya comes, and that is why this Valli is a very important Valli in this chapter, where you will get a wonderful insight into Brahma Vidya. Some things which need to be emphasized, and that is where all of us who are studying, who are part of these classes, need to realize. I'm saying this again and again, that these are the 3 extremely difficult things to get. We have got a human birth. We have got this desire to get Brahma Vidya. We also have one of the greatest of gurus in the form of Swami Paramarthananda. Now, if we have these three things, can we therefore make this a commitment? Somewhere in this chapter, we will learn that in the first part of our life, the student phase of our life, we don't get much of an opportunity. In the last phase of our life, when the body becomes old, so it is this period of time, this is most critical, that we decide, are we going to take the path of prayers, the pleasant path, dharma, artha, and kama, or are we going to pursue parama purushartha or moksha? In the Bhagavad Gita, 7th chapter, Sri Krishna gives this message, which I would like to bring to your notice. Manushyanam sahasreshu kaschid yatati siddhaye. Of the thousands and thousands of human beings, a very few of them pursue spiritual knowledge. We are those very few among the thousands. Now, this is the message for all of us. Yatatam api siddhanam kaschid mam veti tattvataha. Of those few who have come, only a small percentage go all the way out to be able to discover my true nature, to be able to discover me and to become one with me. All of us who are now listening in this class, make this a commitment. I am going to be that one that Sri Krishna is going to talk about. Therefore, again and again, we need to see our own greatness. We are extremely rare. To be able to see the greatness of the teacher, and more importantly, why is Brahma Vidya such a great topic? Normally, when we study anything, when we in medicine, we study, for example, the human body, or when we are studying anything for that matter, there is a tendency to objectify and try to say, to see it as apart from you. This is the meaning of the word objectify. When you say objectify, it means there is an object that I can experience either directly in front of me, which is called pratyaksha, or paroksha. It is there. For example, that's the idea of God. I want to know about God, but I don't see God. I know there is a God somewhere far away, but I firmly believe and I get some knowledge. This knowledge of something which I'm not able to experience in my direct senses is called paroksha. So normally all our knowledge comes under pratyaksha, that means which I can experience with my sense organs, or paroksha, which is beyond the access of my sense organs, but through my mind and through inference, I will be able to get knowledge. In Vedanta, and this is where the role of a guru is, we are not looking at any object. We are looking at ourselves, not this body, not this mind. But one message is very clear in Vedanta. I am someone other than this body, which means I am not this body. The body is mine because the body is just like the computer is mine or the phone is mine, an instrument that I use to interact. So too the body is mine, I am not this body. Now, Brahman is therefore not a new substance revealed by the Veda, but Brahman is a new status I discover about myself, and therefore the pinnacle that Sri Krishna wants us to get. This verse, Yatatam api siddhanam kaschin mam veti tattvataha. That reality is to discover that I am that. I am Brahman. So you are listening. Who is listening? That is Brahman. That conscious principle because of which I am alive and aware. Now that is the new name. And once I know, you should not say this body has consciousness. There is consciousness. I am that consciousness. For the time being, I'm interacting through this body. This body is only a means for me to hear, to feel, to touch, to infer, to know, and so on. This is Brahma Vidya. That means I am someone other than the body. The body and mind are only an instrument, including the mind is only an instrument. Every Upanishad, every Upanishad brings in Omkara in some way or the other. We've had the previous Upanishad that we studied, the Mundaka Upanishad, which talks about Pranava as the bow. Now, whenever we see the Jivatma as the arrow and Paramatma as the target, now again there is a feeling that Brahman is there and I am here. That is why, although we study the Upanishadic verses, we need a guru to tell you these are examples only to help you to discover something which is non-dual. It does not mean that Brahman is somewhere else. I am the Jivatma, the arrow. The Omkara is only a bow, and the Guru is the one who's going to release me from, launch me from this bow or Omkara, and the target is there. Not at all. So I have to discover I am already that. In fact, the role of the teacher is help you to understand you are already that which you can possibly be. The first verse for today, verse 6, will be explained to us by Dr. Komal Prasad. Dr. Komal, please.
Verse 6 goes like this. Na samparaya pratibhati balam pramadyantam vittamohena moodham ayam loko nasti para iti mani punah punah vashami apadyate me. Scriptural discipline does not appeal to the indiscriminate, negligent ones who is deluded due to the infatuation for wealth. This world alone exists, and there is nothing beyond. Thinking thus, he comes under my grip again and again. This is what Lord Yama says. Here, Lord Yama is contrasting the Viveka of Nachiketas and the others, the Avivekis, who will not be in that path of Shreyas. So what is the essential difference between a Viveki and an Aviveki? As we see, among the Purusharthas, Avivekis are the ones who will be concentrating exclusively on Artha and Kama. We have to keep in mind here that these people, those unfortunate ones, they are not bad people. They are just stupid, unintelligent ones who resist, who have an arrogance not to consider the presence of something beyond what their senses can perceive. The essential difference is that leeway, that space to take help of, to have support of something beyond what is perceptible to us. That is the difference between a Viveki and an Aviveki. If I want to see my own eyes, I have to surrender to the mirror. It's absolutely essential because here I am trying to see my own eyes. Similarly, if I have to see my own nature, I must surrender to the scriptures. So this is the gist. So the difference between a Viveki and an Aviveki is that the Aviveki, the ignorant ones, the indiscriminate ones, the negligent ones, who does not know the value of human life, how lucky he is to be born as a human, is that they won't consider the possibility of utilizing something external to what they can perceive to know their own nature. As we can see in the next slide, all the instruments of knowledge what we have at our disposal are perceptive instruments. That is our five senses. You can also imagine and add on to that your mobile phone. That's also our one kind of instrument which we can perceive. It provides data. And what will we do with that data? Our intellect analyzes the data and creates stories, create meanings out of the different sensations, different data given by different instruments of knowledge. And once we get that, like how we can add on, like what you get, the news in WhatsApp, everything what your mobile phone brings you, the phone calls you get. So they are all instruments of knowledge. But it will be stupid enough to consider that that is it and there is nothing in the world. There is no news beyond in the world, beyond what your WhatsApp and your mobile phone is feeding you. is it possible that we are staying in a huge, beautiful, wonderful universe of God, but we are unable to see the beauty of flowers around us because we don't have that ability to perceive something which may be beyond our senses to perceive? What we perceive and what the intelligence gathers and analyzes creates our objective world. And for a Viveki, there is something which is existing, which is beyond what is perceptible by our senses. And what are those apaurushaya aspects, apaurushaya vishayas? Whatever our objective world is perceived by our senses, it's called paurushaya. And there is something which is apaurushaya, which is beyond our capacity to gather through our perceptive instruments. And those are called apaurushaya vishayas. What are those apaurushaya vishayas? Swami Paramarthananda enumerates there are two apaurushaya vishayas. One is laws of karma. Laws of karma are that adrushta phalas, which are beyond our perceptions. Why it happens? People will come and ask, why this cancer? Why in my family? Why to me? There's something which is beyond our senses, beyond any microscope to tell us why it is happening. So that the reason what scriptures gives, the name tag is called laws of karma. You can keep it as that for the time being. It's apaurushaya. And the second one, which is beyond our capacity, second apaurushaya vishaya, is the truth, the reality, the Brahman. These two are beyond, outside the perceptible world of ourselves. For these two, one should not rely upon the sense organs and intellect, but on apaurushaya pramana, the scriptures. It is reality of world that not everybody will be interested in knowing about your own eye. Like Swami Chinmayananda says, there are many people in the world who have never seen their back. How is my back? I don't know. Unless somebody is interested to know what is there in your back, is there a scar, is there a dip, is there an irregularity? There is no way to know about it. Life can go on without you knowing about your own eye or your own back. So the people, the indiscriminate ones, are outwardly projected and they are just enjoying the artha and kama aspects, stupidly missing an opportunity what the Manushya Janma has given them to know their own nature, which is an exclusive prerogative which is bestowed on us in Manushya Janma. They are negligent, deluded, and infatuated by their wealth. And in their world, there are only two Purusharthas, Artha and Kama. It's called Charvaka philosophy, materialistic philosophy. They proudly claim to be rationalist because they believe whatever they can see, they can perceive, nothing beyond that. Since they do not believe in dharma and moksha, they do not believe in Vaidika sadhanas, Vaidika way of life. Lord Yama says, such people will come under his grip through old age and death. In time, they will lose everything, including the capacity to enjoy artha and kama. To such people, Lord Yama says, death will not give permanent relief because they will be born again and die again. So this is the subtle difference between a Viveki and Aviveki. That is, not getting appealed, not getting the help of scriptural discipline. So that's in the verse 6. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Komal, for a very clear explanation of this verse, where he says that, as you have nicely explained, there are two categories of people. Those who are able to go and study the scriptures to find out that which you cannot know otherwise about the law of karma, and more importantly, about our own true nature. Those people who do not rely on the scriptures, they come under my grip again and again. Is there a way to get out of his grip? When we travel to Kailash and we are planning to do a parikrama around Mount Kailash, before we start the parikrama, there is a man-made structure from a place where you get a very nice view of the south face of Mount Kailash, and that is called the Yamadwar. Now, symbolically, that means when you are very close to Mount Kailash, you are in the territory of Yamadharmaraja. This picture was taken on our first yatra, and part of our second yatra was a preparation how to go close to Mount Kailash and be free from Yamadharmaraja. Yamadharmaraja himself gives us the clue that if you study the scriptures, you will be out of my grip. Adi Shankara and the Bhaja Govindam song has given this nice verse. Bhagavad Gita Kinchid Adita. Those who study the Bhagavad Gita, Tasya Yamena Charcha. Such people, if you have got the essence of the scriptures. What is the essence of the scriptures? I am someone other than my body. I have dissociated from my body. All karma affects the body. The body goes through aging, sickness, and death, which is the department of Yamadharmaraja. I am not my body. Just like I see others going through their karma, I have to see my body going through its own karma. Where this body will drop, how it will drop, when will it drop is not really an issue for a sincere student of Vedanta, because the dissociation from the body is very clear. Verse 7 will be explained by Ramaji. Ramaji, please.
Shri Gurubhyo Namaha, Harihi Om. Kathopanishad, Mantra 1.2.7. Yamaraja says that among thousands, it is only a Shreyorthi like Nachiketas hankers after the preferable and becomes a knower of the self because, and he quotes the mantra, that is Shravanayapi bahubhiryo na labhyaha shunvantopi bahavo yam na vidyuhu ascharyo vakta kushalo asya labdha ascharyo gnata kushalanusishtaha. The translation says, to many, the self is not available for the mere hearing through the Shastras. Even while hearing, the unfortunate ones whose minds have not been purified may not comprehend the meaning of the self. It is a wonder to find that rare expounder of the self who is proficient to teach it well, and it is indeed a wonder to find that rare listener of the self who is proficient to grasp this teaching. After having glorified the Vedantic path, in this mantra, Yamaraja describes the qualities of a teacher, disciple, and Atma Vidya. Our scriptures prescribe Shravanam, Mananam, and Nididhyasanam as 3 steps for self-realization. For example, Bruhadaranyaka Upanishad mantra 2.4.5 says, Atmava are drashtavyaha, shrotavyaha, mantavyaha, and nididhyasitavyaha. Meaning the self should be realized and it should be heard of, reflected on, and profoundly meditated upon. Now coming back to our shloka, it says, Yaha shravanayapi bahubihi na labhyaha. Swami Puja Swami Paramarthananda ji says, Vedanta Shravanam is rare because even to get interested in the Vedanta, one must acquire sadhana chatushtaya sampattihi. Of the 4 purusharthas, the majority is only interested in artha and kama. They are busy acquiring and protecting port, and it binds a person to samsara. A small fraction of the rest may understand the limitations of artha and kama and pursue dharma. Among them, a few understand that dharma can only give swargadi bhogaha and not moksha, the ultimate fulfillment in one's own life. Even among those who desire moksha, very few people know that gnanam, that is the self-knowledge alone, can liberate. The desire for moksha should be transformed to the desire for gnana, and this is a big step. Without an appropriate means, the knowledge cannot take place. Among those, only a few people know that the scriptures are the only source of knowledge. The second part of the mantra says, Shunvantopi bahavo yamna vidyuho. The desire for knowledge should be converted to the desire for Shastric inquiry. Only a few seekers realize the need for the guidance from a guru who knows the exceptional method of communication used in the scriptures. The guru is like a honeybee who draws the honey from scriptures and gives the essence to the thought. The guru has the key to open the scriptures to reveal the teachings, and the desire and an opportunity for Shastric inquiry should be converted into a desire to listen to the central teachings from a competent guru. Unless it is taught by a skilled teacher, it cannot be understood. The next slide says, both the teacher and the taught are wonders. Ashcharyo Vakta Kushalo Asya Labdha. Wherever the successful communication takes place, the glory belongs to both the teacher and the student. The teacher is a wonder because of his ability to communicate something that is indescribable and not easily receivable. The teacher who guides a student attain Brahman without objectification is rare. The teacher has a greater share of responsibility because he needs to keep on hammering the student not to seek the experience of Brahman, but to identify with Brahman. And the last part of the shloka says, Ashcharyo Gnata Kushalanusishtaha. Very few understand that Brahman is the observer and not the observed. As said in another Upanishad, Pratibodha Viditam Matam. That is, Brahman is the self evident in every experience. The student who has dropped the tendency to objectify is rare. The student is a wonder because of his ability to experience something that is not easy to attain. The wonder teacher is one who is both proficient in expressing himself and guides a seeker. Also, he has experienced the self within. The wonder disciple is he who has a genuine desire and thirst for the self alone to find the moksha, the ultimate fulfillment in one's own life. Therefore, Yamaraja says that both the Vakta and the Labdha are Ashcharyas. Thank you. Hari Om, Shri Gurubhyo Namaha.
Thank you very much, Ramaji. Now, this is the objective. Both Dr. Komal and Ramaji were able to explain the allotted mantras as clearly as Swamiji has explained. And fortunately, we are blessed to have a great teacher. And this teacher has told us not to objectify. One of the things that we realize whenever a person does not have a guru is we don't understand very clearly what is this Atma. All of us in all our activities are seeking the Atma alone, in the sense that whenever we are trying for even Dharma, Artha or Kama, we are trying to work for happiness and fulfillment, which is actually seeking Atma alone. But Atma is really mysterious and very difficult to understand. Atma is the only source of permanent peace, security, and happiness. This is something we have to understand because normally we look for peace, security, and happiness outside of ourselves. Our teacher helps us to discover that our true nature, that conscious principle, that all-pervading conscious principle, just like the internet is everywhere, but I access it through my ID on my email, or that all-pervading cellular space I'm able to identify through my mobile instrument. So too, the all-pervading consciousness is accessible to me through this body. And when I experience it through the body, I need to say, I am that infinite. And this is the great discovery. The great discovery is, I am that which I am seeking. The seeker is the sought. And when this discovery is made, this is a wonder. That is why Brahma Vidya is considered as the wonder of wonders. In the Bhagavad Gita, 2nd chapter, Shri Krishna again tells us, Ascharyavat paschati kaschadenam. Now, it is surprising, all these are wonders in itself, that you are able to, what are the great wonders? To be able to know about this, to be able to hear about this is a wonder. And we are so blessed to be able to get it. And then Sri Krishna very tauntingly say, so many people have this opportunity to listen to great teachers, but they are not able to understand. And that is also a wonder. The wonder being that we tend to objectify. We begin to think that Atma is an object, and this is the mistake. As this topic is so important, I will stress on this a little more. I have said this in so many words. I will say this, that the greatest wonder, and this is the Atma Jnanam Stuti, both in the Bhagavad Gita and in the Kathopanishad. Vedanta points out that you are seeking yourself. That self-discovery is the greatest wonder. Brahman is not a new substance revealed by the Vedanta, but a new status I discover about myself. From then on, you will say, as body-mind, I am limited. Or these are only instruments, but I am the limitless Atma. Aham Brahmasmi is a recognition of a fact about myself, just like the example given when Karna was told who he was by his mother Kunti. He discovers a new status about himself. The next mantra, mantra 8, will be explained to us by Vidya Prabhu. Vidya, please.
Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Na narena varena prokta eshaha suvidneyo bahuda chintaya manaha ananya prokte gatiratra nasti aniyan yattarkyam anupramanat. This is a very important verse in Kathopanishad, where the qualification of the teacher is being highlighted, analyzing the topic of Guru Lakshanam. Yamadharma Raja talks about the subtlety of this subject matter, where Guru has to play an important role in communicating the uncommunicable. As we all know, the subject matter of this Upanishad is the Atma, regarding which there are many confusions and misconceptions. Anupramanat aniyan. It is subtler than even the subtlest atom, which is not available for any sense perception. Pratyaksha agocharam. So inference is not possible because it does not give any sensory data. So Yamadharmaraja just said, atarkyam, anumana agocharam, meaning it is beyond any logical argument. In the second line, Yamadharmaraja points out, bahuda chintyamanaha, which means various philosophers have talked about this Atma in various ways. Next slide, Doctor. Some people say body itself is Atma. Some others say other than the body, mind is the Atma. Some say other than the body, mind, there is something else called Atma. And having accepted this, they debate regarding the nature of the Atma. Some say Atma is one, others say it is many. Since all these arguments lead to confusion, yeshaha na suvidneyaha. This Atma cannot be grasped clearly and convincingly. Avarena narena means Avarena Gurunam, meaning inferior, proktaha, taught, revealed or communicated, meaning one who does not know how to communicate this properly. If such a guru teaches, then this Atma will not be understood but misunderstood. Yeshaha, that is Atma, which is the subject matter which Nachiketas wanted to know through the third boon. Yamadharma Raja says, self-inquiry, self-meditation will not work. Scriptures are required, which should be taught by a competent acharya. Both should go hand in hand. Guru Shastra Upadesha is required, and Shastra is like a mirror which helps in seeing oneself, and Guru is one who knows how to operate the Shastra. Such a Guru is given a beautiful title, Ananyaha, who is not different from it. In Mundaka Upanishad, that Guru was called Shrotriya Brahmanishta, which is the first and foremost quality of the Guru. He has discovered the fact that he is Brahman. He should communicate in such a way that as even the student listens to him, he should understand that the description of Brahman is the description of myself. Swami Paramarthananda gives the example of table, fan, etc. The very utterance of these words travel and resolve into the object. In the same manner, the word Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam should not travel elsewhere. They should travel and resolve into me, that I am that. So, the scriptures have devised an ingenious method to do this task. Next slide, Doctor. Effectively, which is called Sampradayaha. It is a secret key, and I will have the key only if I have been the disciple of some Guru. Guru will have the key only if he has been the disciple of someone. Therefore, only in the Guru Shishya Parampara, Sampradaya key is maintained. One who possesses this key is called a Shrotriya. Such a Shrotriya Brahmanishta Guru mentioned in Mundaka Upanishad is called here as Ananyaha. Brahman Eki Bhutaha, which means that for whom Brahman is the Guru himself, the description of himself. For such a Guru, Vedanta is his life and the subject matter is himself. When such a Guru communicates, Agati, that is non-understanding, Nasti, not there. That is double negative, meaning knowledge will take place and there is no coming back to samsara. Our daily prayer reveals this supreme truth that such a Guru is everything and all encompassing. Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwaraha, Guru Sakshat Para Brahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Prostrations to such a Guru, we at Param Vedanta have the double grace of being sheltered in Mahapurusha Samshraya, the teaching of such a Guru, Swami Paramarthananda, and our Pujya Shri Dr. Hegde. Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you very much, Vidya, for another very clear explanation with giving a lot of importance on the qualifications of the teacher so that what is this Atma has to be clearly understood. We are extremely grateful. We have a teacher like Swami Paramarthananda, who himself has been a student before. When you are a student and you go through a great teacher, and when the teacher helps you to come to his level, Tat Padam Darshitam Yena, the teacher elevates you to his level to be able to see what he is able to see. And such a teacher, as you nicely explained and very properly brought out by Swamiji in the explanation of this mantra, is called Ananya Prokta. In the 7th chapter and in the 9th chapter, you have this verse, Ananya Chinta Yantoma Ye Jana Pariyupasate. How do you do upasana? To see yourself as not other than Shri Krishna. Ananya means not other than. You have to see yourself as Atma. That such a person is a Brahmanishta. Only when you have a Brahmanishta Acharya, and the Brahmanishta Acharya is absolutely convinced. He does not have even a slightest qualms or hesitation to say, I am Brahman. Not only such that our teacher has that ability, a Shrotriya, who is able to communicate his understanding. And these are the two things. And this is what Yamadharmaraja is trying to tell us, that the Atma is something so subtle that we need to be able to understand it. Our next mantra is going to be explained by Dr. Satyanarayana. Dr. Satyanarayana, please.
Prathamadhyaye Dvitiyavalli, verse 9, goes like this. Na esa tarkena mati apaneya prokta anyena eva sugnanaya prestha yam tvam apaha satyadhidir batashi tvadarno bhuyat nachiketa prastha. When we go by word meaning, na esa tarkena mati apaneya means not this by mere reasoning attainable. Prokta anyena eva sugnanaya prestha, said by another indeed by his comprehension, O dear one. Yam tvam apaha satyadhitir batashi, that you have obtained fixed truth. Tvadarno bhuyat nachiketa prastha, like you to us may he be the enquirer, O Nachiketa. Means this verse says, next slide. This verse says that this knowledge cannot be attained by reasoning, O dear one. taught by someone else alone does it come to one's comprehension. You have attained that knowledge. You are indeed a resolute one, O Nachiketa. May we have seekers like you. In the dialogue between an aspiring disciple Nachiketa and the ruler of death, Yama is telling the importance of Guru for attaining Brahma Vidya. The Shastras are source of, next slide, sir. The Shastras are source of knowledge and can exist without Acharya. Acharya is one who communicates through the Shastras. Therefore, when Acharya is mentioned, Shastras are included, while when Shastras are mentioned, Acharya is not included. Emphasis is more on Acharya and not on Shastras, because if the Shastras are emphasized, a person may engage in self-study and there is a risk of misunderstanding the Shastras, which may bring more harm than good. Truth is not a theme that can be reached or understood by a play of intellect. Mere reasoning can cover only the frontiers of the world of objects. Next slide, sir. Mind and intellect are insentient and needs the controller and the prompter. It is the divine spark, Atman, which vitalizes the mind and the intellect, and it is only then they function through their evident feelings and willing. Since the Atman is thus the director of mind and intellect, it is obvious that they themselves cannot discover the energy behind them. However smart we may be in the seeing with our eyes, we cannot see our own eyes with our eyes. The moment the truth is detached from observing mind and the analyzing intellect, the poor mind and the intellect become inert and dead. A driver cannot be run over by the very car he is driving. Hence, the Lord Death says, this knowledge cannot be attained only by arguments or reasoning. Next slide. He tells that one cannot attain this knowledge without a teacher just by logic and reasoning. It is well understood only when taught by one who knows the truth. Even scriptures speak in a language and words cannot convey it. It cannot be communicated to another for want of means. It is insight, the intuition of Guru, that reveals this knowledge. The intuition of the Guru reveals itself as intuition in the disciple. They are not two persons. They are only two centers. One is revealed and the other unrevealed. Yama, who is so far appreciating his great disciple, now has come to compliment the boy directly. If the seekers there be, if questioners there be, may we have seekers and questioners like you, Nachiketa. That is why obtaining a guru or guru prapti is considered a great blessing. Three things are important for moksha: being born as a human being, having a desire for moksha, and getting a competent guru to guide. Hari Om.
Thank you very much, Dr. Satyanarayana, for another very clear explanation of all these very important verses. The Brahma Vidya is possible only by a qualified guru and a qualified student. Through reasoning or tarka, it is not possible. There are so many people who don't see the importance of a guru. Even I, in the early days when Swamiji was talking about the importance of a guru, I was wondering why is that he is emphasizing again and again. I thought he was unnecessarily giving more importance to the teacher. And gradually I realized how it's so easy to misunderstand without the guidance of a teacher. We need a qualified teacher. Here, of course, in these verses, when Yamadharmaraja is telling Nachiketa, you have already attained that knowledge. It is like when a person joins a medical school, you call him a doctor, because you know that over a period of time, a person is going to become that. And here and hereafter, in this verse and in the next verse, few verses, you will see how the teacher has so much praise for Nachiketa. And he hopes that all of us will use Nachiketa as a role model and be Tivra Mukshutsu. The last verse for today will be explained to us by Kirti. Kirti, please.
Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha, verse 1.2.10. The third boon that Nachiketas prayed from Lord Yama is the means for the attainment of the supreme human goal, which is dependent on the clear knowledge of the reality of the self, that is, knowledge of the unity of the self Atma and Brahman as opposed to avidya, and whether it exists or not when a man dies. Nachiketas knew that conclusive knowledge of this self leads to great result, eternal ananda. This firmly proves his faith in the existence of the path for the self and persuades Lord Yama to instruct him in such Brahma Vidya. Lord Yama admires Nachiketa's maturity and true resolution. Satya Dhritihi, a wise young boy with all the qualifications and desire for Atma Jnana. In this verse, Lord Yama, while admiring his disciple, starts reflecting upon himself. He is comparing his own ideas, his own past actions at the time when he himself was a young seeker like Nachiketas, and expresses his deepest appreciation for his extraordinary and blessed disciple. Lord Yama says, Janamyaham sevadhir iti anityam nahi adruvaihi prapyate hi dhruvam tat tato maya nachiketas chitognihi anityair dravyaihi praptavanasmi nityam. Translation. Lord Yama says, Aham janami iti. I know this fact that sevadihi, the treasure, comprising the fruits of action which are prayed for. That treasure is anityam, impermanent, transient. He, because tat dhruvam, that permanent entity, which is the treasure called Supreme Self, na prapyatehi, cannot be attained at all, adruvaihi, by impermanent means and things. But that treasure alone, which consists of impermanent pleasure, is attained through impermanent things. He tataha, since this is so, therefore, knowing as I did, the permanent cannot be attained through ephemeral or transient means. Tata Nachiketa Agni Chitaha, the fire called Nachiketa was piled up, was invoked Maya by me. That is, the ritual that is meant for the acquisition of heavenly bliss was accomplished by me with anityaihi dravyai, with perishable impermanent things. Having acquired the requisite merit thereby, praptavan asmi, I have attained nityam, the permanence, the relatively permanent abode, which is called heaven or swarga. Lord Yama confesses to Nachiketas that he too was once a human being, an ordinary mortal, a seeker like him, but a god now. He knew eternal reality, Tat Dhruvam, cannot be attained by impermanent means and things, Anitya Dravyahi. He knew the perishable nature of Sevadihi, meaning Karma Phalam. Even though Lord Yama knew the limitations of karma phalam, instead of seeking for moksha, first he chose to pursue the path of Vedic sacrifices and rituals as sanctioned by the Shastras, that is, the means to attain permanence, heavenly bliss with impermanent materials. He performed various karmas, piled up, invoked, and propitiated the Swargyam Agnim, later called Nachiketa Agni, the fire that is the means for gaining a place in Anantaloka, infinite world or heaven, and meditated on Ishwarupa Ishvara as Virat Upasana. By that karma phalam, he was able to cast off the snares of death in the mortal plane, crossing over mental fear, sorrow, ignorance, vices, and he attained Swargaloka Amrutatvam, immortality, divinity, and rejoiced in the world of Virat, heaven, with the status of being a Deva, adorning the chair of the Lord of Death. He knew all of these have an end. They are all a part of samsara, part of Maya. Lord Yama continues explaining himself to Nachiketas, describing the difference between them. First, he chose to attain the eternal, but realized it was only a relative eternity. Thereafter, gained self knowledge, Brahma Jnana, in Swarga. Swami Paramarthananda explains Swarga is permanent only relative to earthly life. It is generally continuous and unbroken till the pralaya. Compared to the lifespan in the mortal plane, lifespan in Swarga is eternal indeed. It is still impermanent compared to moksha. But you, Nachiketas, realizing the impermanent nature of karma phalam, you have set aside all temptations of bhuloka, even the heavenly joy of swargaloka, and sought for, focused to attain only the ultimate self-knowledge or Brahma Vidya. This verse is a kind of self confession of Lord Yama. He admits that you, little boy, as far as spiritual learning is concerned, you are superior, of a higher caliber than me. Having found in Nachiketa a persevering pupil in search of truth about the Atma or self, Lord Yama, being a Brahmanishta, imparts the knowledge of Brahman to him. Thank you, sir. Harihi Om.
Thank you very much, Kirti, for another complete explanation of a very difficult verse. And in all these verses, you will realize the importance of an acharya. Otherwise, if you take the literal word meaning of this mantra, we tend to get confused, because how can Yamadharmaraja say that by impermanent means I have attained to something permanent? That is where the acharya comes and explains. You will remember the Mundakopanishad, which said, Pariksha lokan karmachitan brahmana nirvedyam nasti akrita kritena. That means through finite, you can never attain to the infinite. And all our actions that we do are only finite. From finite, we cannot attain to infinite. By doing all these karmas, these Nachiketa Agni, you may attain to the heavens, but they are not infinite. They are certainly an advanced, evolved status, but it is not the infinite. Certainly, Yamadharmaraja realized, having gone there, he got the Brahma Vidya, and there he is appreciating the Nachiketa. And here, this is another verse, which is a Shishya Stuti, that person who gave up everything impermanent. That is why Adi Shankara, when he begins the Bhashyam, this is his opening words. Om Namo Bhagavate Vaivasvataya. That means the son of Surya, Mrityave. This is an adoration or namaskara to the teacher, Brahma Vidya Acharya Yamadharmaraja. Immediately next, he begins by appreciating Nachiketa se cha, and also to Nachiketa. Can you imagine? The student is also given that much of a status, which in no other Upanishad, the student is given that much status. And therefore, Lord Nachiketa himself, he says, in some ways, you are even superior to me. Let Nachiketa be a role model for us in the pursuit of Brahma Vidya through excellent Viveka, Vairagya, Shama, Adi, Shakta Sampatti, and Tibra Mumukshutvam. Hari Om, Shri Gurubhyo Namaha.
Friends, against our announcement of Gita Jayanti, Guru Dakshina, many of you have voluntarily sent in your contribution. While we thank you for your generosity, I request those who are yet to update the Google Forms to submit the same without further delay. The details are required to account your contribution properly and also to issue a receipt appropriately. Now, coming to our current session, today's session, on behalf of Param Vedanta, I would like to express a hearty thanks to all the participants who have joined us for today's session. Dr. Timmappa Hegde sir, and all speakers for an enlightening session. On Monday, 1st January 2024, we shall be back with the 7th session of Gift, Gita for Inner Freedom and Transformation. As Bhagwan Krishna continues to reveal Buddhi Yoga or the Yoga of Intellect, where if we work with such understanding, we shall be freed from the bondage of karma. Log in well in time to benefit from the Lord Krishna's invaluable teachings. This brings us to an end of today's program. Let us conclude with the Shanti Mantra. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.